Hi everybody, I'm Kenda and thank you so much for watching this video. I am an expat living full-time in Paradise. I live in Los Cabos, Mexico, and I've lived here full-time for a little over 5 years. It's hard to believe how fast the time has gone. But I moved here from Atlanta, Georgia, and I like to kind of share with people what it's like to live in Mexico. So this video, I have to be really completely transparent in the filming of this video with you because I have really struggled with whether or not to share my experience that I went through last year here in Mexico. I think when you have a situation where you almost don't make it out alive, or it wasn't guaranteed that you were going to. I think anytime you have a situation like that, I think you have a lot of, well, I have had a lot of emotions surrounding that and a lot of different phases that I've gone through. Part of it wanting to just put it behind me and not think about it. And then there's this part that always is processing what happened and what could have happened and what almost happened and why did it happen and how could I have avoided it happening. And so in the layers of processing this event that occurred in my life last October, I also am in this dilemma of whether or not to share it with my friends and audience who follow me and are interested in life in Mexico. One of the things is it's a private event and it was very traumatic for me, and again, I'm still processing it. But the other is that I don't want to do anything to further perpetuate any stereotypes about Mexico. And my fear has been that if I tell what happened to me, that people might say, oh, that's because you live in Mexico. And I want to make it very clear that I believe that what happened to me could have happened anywhere. There are a lot of people in the United States and other countries that have had similar events happen. And I also believe 100% that the fact that I'm still alive today is because I live in Mexico. And the medical care here was so incredible, and they saved my life. So I just want to make sure that I put that up front in the video because I don't want anybody to watch this video and think, oh, I don't want to go to Mexico because I don't want that to happen to me. It can happen anywhere, and I'm so thankful for the medical staff here and for the doctors here who continue to follow up with me to this day. And I'm so thankful that they acted so quickly and they saved my life. So I'm going to share a little bit about what happened. I'm not going to go into a great bit of detail, but I will tell you that last October we had a hurricane coming into Cabo, and it was only category 1, category 2. It was not a serious hurricane. It was basically a rain event and a little bit of wind. It wasn't bad. But when we have a rain event here in Cabo, I don't say when it rains in Cabo, I say when we have a rain event, because rain here is an event. We don't get it very often, and when we do, it's an event. So we had a rain event because we aren't really set up for rain. It doesn't rain very often. So when it does rain, the streets flood. We get washouts through different arroyos, and it's a treacherous situation to be on the roads. So the main idea is you really don't want to go out during a hurricane if you can help it. You never know if you're going to get a rogue wave. You just want to stay home if you can help it. So the hurricane was coming in on Saturday, and on Friday I started feeling bad. I started feeling cold and very, very tired, and I just didn't feel well. And I thought maybe it was the weather coming in. I thought, you just kind of think, oh, it's nothing, it's nothing. And that's kind of what I did. I am the kind of person that when I get sick, a couple of things don't happen. I don't admit it. I don't slow down. And I don't ever really, an important thing is I don't ever run a temperature. I have not run a fever. My temperature runs a little bit low day to day. It's like 80, it's like 98 on a good day. And so I never run a fever. So I just grew up thinking if you don't have a fever, you're not really sick. I don't know, anyway, because I could never run a fever, and we weren't allowed to stay home from school unless we had a fever. So, Mom, if you're watching, you know that's true. But anyway, so I don't run fevers. I haven't run a fever in, I don't know, decades, probably 20, 25 years. I just don't. And so when I got cold and I was piled under some blankets and it was hot here, it was October, it was still pretty hot, it never occurred to me that I was running a fever. I just knew that I was cold and I didn't feel well. So I kind of just was hanging out on the couch a little bit, went to bed that night, woke up feeling terrible, still freezing. I started having like these shaking episodes where I was just having terrible, uncontrollable like tremors where I was just shivering and couldn't get warm. And after a few hours of this, not eating, I believe I started maybe vomiting in the middle of the night, just off and on, nothing like every hour, but it was off and on. And my digestive system started kind of acting up a little bit through the day, and I had a little bit of a headache. But as the evening wore on, my husband was like, maybe we should check your temperature. And I'm like, no, I don't run fevers. Even if I'm sick, I don't run a fever. I just don't. And, but he's like, I think we should check your temperature. So we checked my temperature, and we were shocked because it was 101. And for me, 101 is really, really scary. And I was scared, but I thought, oh, I just have a bug. And there's a hurricane, so I'm just gonna try to wait this out. And as the night progressed, I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And through the next day, while the hurricane was coming in, and I was incredibly ill, incredibly ill. My temperature got up to about 104.3. And since I'm not familiar with running a fever, I looked online and it said, if you have a temperature as an adult of over 103, you need to go immediately to the hospital. But we were in a hurricane, and I don't know. I don't know why I didn't go. I know I wasn't coherent, really. I was kind of out of it and not really thinking clearly. And so, to make a long story short, despite the fact that I was incredibly ill and my body was saying, you have a serious problem here, I didn't go to the hospital until Monday. And by Monday I was dying. And I don't say that lightly. I don't like to be dramatic because, I don't know, I worry that, I guess that's why I never say I was sick, because I don't like to be dramatic. But I got to the hospital, walked in. By this point, I was having frequent visits to the bathroom, and was incredibly weak and tired. And I walked in to the emergency room. They took me right back. There was no waiting. Within 30 minutes of walking into the emergency room, I had already had a CAT scan, an abdominal CAT scan. I had an IV, I had fluids, I had blood work, I had stool samples, I had pain med, everything, you guys. Within 30 minutes of walking in the door, they were on top of my care. And they were so kind and helping me back and forth to the bathroom, and my every need, they were so kind. and so attentive. And I ended up having to go back for a second CT. They thought maybe my appendix was rupturing or had ruptured, but I went back for another CT with contrast. And at this point, I still didn't realize I was really sick. I just thought I had a stomach bug or something. And I remember laying in the CT bed, and they kind of pulled me out a little bit. And I remember looking down towards the wall, and there was a window where the computers are behind the window, and the doctor, and where the tech is, and he's running the CT scan. And I remember looking in there, and in addition to the CT tech who was running the machines, there were 6 physicians in there. This is a chilling moment for me because this was the moment that I knew something was very wrong. And all of the doctors were very serious, looking very concerned, all gathered around the computer, pointing, talking, shaking their heads. And then they would put me back in the machine and do another scan. And I'm thinking, you think the worst. My father had colon cancer, so I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm like eaten up with cancer. For some reason, that's the worst I could think of, was I have cancer. And that's all I could think about, is I have cancer. Oh my God, I have cancer. But it wasn't cancer. And after a very lengthy time of going in and out of the CT machine and having them do different scans and, using the contrast, they told me I was finished at the CT machine, and one of the doctors came out and he put his hand on my leg and he said, "I'm Dr. Benitez, and how are you?" And I said, "I'm okay, I'm fine." And he's like, "I'm gonna explain to you what's going on. I'm not gonna leave your side. Let's go back to the ER and talk to your husband, and I'm gonna go with you. I'm not leaving you for a second." And so he had his hand on my leg, and they wheeled my bed back into the ER where my husband was waiting. And Dr. Benitez sat down in the chair next to us, and he said, "You're very sick. You have something called C. diff. I think it's like Clostridium difficile or something like that. I don't know, but it's C. diff. And your colon is so swollen that we are at risk of it rupturing any second. And you also are septic. You have sepsis, and it's all through your body. And we have to get you in." My heart rate's going up. We have to take care of this. This is very serious. You're staying in the hospital. So immediately they admitted me, and I told you I'm not sick very often. This was actually my very first hospital stay. I've never stayed in the hospital except to have a baby. And so I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital for about a week. I was in a critical care section of the hospital, and I was in a room that was like sealed. And so there was an outer room, so the doctors and nurses would come into this outer room, suit up with full hazmat gear, wash up, everything head to toe covered, and then they would open this airtight room door and then come into my room and care for me. And then when they were finished with me, they would leave, shut the airtight room, and take off all the hazmat gear. It was so surreal. It was so surreal that I can't even process it. But anyway, so that was where I was, and one of the things that I noticed that was different about the hospital stay was that the nurses and doctors really cared. Like, they really, really cared. And you know that little button you push when you want to call the nurse, and you kind of estimate that you push the button. I remember my dad was in the hospital, and other people I've known, you push the button and you give it like, okay, they'll be here within 2 hours. Like, surely somebody's going to come at some point. Like, you push the button and they come when they can. When I pushed the button, they were there within a minute, 2 minutes, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. When you push this button, people actually come. It's pretty cool. I think that's what the button was intended for, but I think the nursing staff in the United States are just so overworked that they can't make it to your room for, an hour, hour and a half, and that's that. But here, the nursing staff came immediately to help me. So we found out a couple days later that I also had salmonella at the same time. So I had 3 life-threatening events happening all at the same time. And again, I was in the hospital for a week in this critical care section. And, it was really, it was not a negative event for me. It was a positive event. The doctor was fantastic. He came to my room multiple times a day. He gave me his WhatsApp number. Here WhatsApp is a thing. We don't text, we WhatsApp. And he gave me his direct WhatsApp number, and I would WhatsApp him questions, and he would WhatsApp and check on me. It was such a lovely, even though it was so tragic and so scary and so, like, I could have easily died. It was a positive event because I felt like I was getting the care that I needed, and I was getting the support that I needed to be able to survive this event. And so I'm so grateful for the medical staff here and for the doctors here. Several doctors that I have, all of my doctors, I have them on my WhatsApp, and not like a nurse. I have the actual doctor on my WhatsApp, and if I ever have a problem, I can WhatsApp my doctor. It's the same for my vet. If my dog has a problem, I WhatsApp my vet, and he WhatsApps me back. So it's just such a different scenario here. And while I probably got sick from contaminated food, that's the best we can figure, that I got it from something that I ate that was contaminated. That can happen anywhere. There are people that die in the United States from food poisoning and from salmonella, so that can happen anywhere. But what I don't think can happen anywhere is the level of care that I received. So I wanted to make this video to kind of process and talk through what happened, but also to let you know that if you do get sick in Mexico, in Cabo specifically, if you go specifically to H+, they're amazing doctors. They're incredible doctors, and they take such good care of you, and they make you feel like a human being whose life has value. And I think even though it has been a long several months of processing this event and how frightening in hindsight it was, thankfully during the time I was just going day to day and trying to just keep going, and I didn't realize how serious it was until later. But I just want to thank the medical staff. I want to thank the nurses. I want to thank the hospital. I want to thank my doctors. They did everything that they could do, and it was touch and go for a while, but they were so great, and I'm so thankful. So I think the moral of the story and why I want to do this video was not only to process and share it with you and let you know what happened to me, but also to say, it could happen anywhere, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful to live in a place where human life still has such incredible value, and where the medical staff and the doctors really care about you. And I will also say that after all of the medical expenses that I went through, a week in the hospital, emergency room, multiple scans, multiple blood work, multiple visits from heart doctors, and all kinds of different things because of the septic situation or the sepsis situation. I do have Mexican insurance, but I think we only ended up paying like maybe $1,500 US for the entire stay, and that was for the doctor, and that was for everything. And so I just think that you should never be afraid of medical care in Mexico, because boy, they saved my life, and I'm so incredibly thankful. And I don't know, I'd like to hear if you have any experience with the medical care here. I think it's been awesome. I know several people who live in other countries, American and the United States and Canada, who come here to have medical procedures, joint replacements and bypass and things like that. They come here to have it done because it's so much, the care is so much better and the cost is so much less. So anyway, I got through it. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I appreciate it, and thank you for watching my channel. I would appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.